Does your dog ignore coming back to you when they're chasing a squirrel across the busy street? If you find yourself in this dangerous situation, make sure you stick around, because today I'm going to be showing you the exact e-collar training method that I use with everyone that we work with on how to ensure your dog's safety no matter what's going on around you, while still giving them freedom to be a dog. By the end of this video, you are going to understand what an e-collar is and how it works, how to introduce it safely to your dog, how to understand what your dog's working and effective levels are, and how to use it to ensure you have rock solid obedience no matter what's going on around you. First, let's address the elephant in the room. E-collars get a bad reputation. That's because people are not using them properly. There's a lot of trainers and a lot of people out there that are just putting e-collars on dogs, start using them. They don't know what they're doing, or they're doing it the wrong way. We don't want to do that. Today you're going to learn how to not do that. But before we get started, you need to understand how an e-collar actually works. I tend to refer to e-collars as remote collars because of the terminology there helps you have a better understanding of how it actually operates. But an e-collar works just like a TENS unit. If you've ever been to a physical therapist or a chiropractor, you've probably had this device used on you where the doctor will put pads on a certain part of your body and they'll put a small electrical current through there, and that's going to stimulate your muscle locally. That's how the e-collar works on your dog, except it's going on their neck. So I'm going to be talking about fitment here in a little bit, but that's the premise of how an e-collar works. That's the technology behind it, at least with the quality units. Make sure you get a quality e-collar unit and not one that is super cheap and not working in this type of manner. The e-collars we recommend are going to be the Dogtra series e-collars, and we usually would recommend the Dogtra 280C, the Dogtra Arc, or the Dogtra 1900. In today's video, we'll focus on the 280C and the Arc, but in other videos on our channel you can refer to in the link in the description, we'll talk about all models that are available to you. So before we actually get into any e-collar training, it's very important to understand the prerequisites before you start e-collar training. You don't just want to grab an e-collar, put it on your dog and start using it. We need to complete prerequisite training, and this is important for the proper introduction of the e-collar to our dog. Before you even get going with your e-collar work, first thing you need to do, you need to have good engagement from your dog. You need to have the good foundation set for the come command, the sit command, the down command, and you can start working on a stay command a little bit if you want to, and also loose leash walking. Once you get those commands foundation set to where your dog generally understands them and you have a good engagement, then you can actually start your e-collar conditioning process. All right guys, so we're going to be using the Dogtra Arc for our remote collar conditioning with Proby here. One note is on this remote collar right here, I've got a comfort pad adapter. So the remote collar will come with special standard contact points. This comfort pad adapter is more suitable for dogs with short fur or a smooth haired dog, okay? If your dog has longer hair, they also have adapters for that. Just reach out if you have questions on how to find those. Then we do put the bungee collars on the remote collar. So the remote collar does not come with this bungee collar with this nice clip. That's something that we get as well to put on the collar. We have to make sure that our fitment for the collar is proper. So whenever we put the collar on a dog, the contact point should be nice and snug up against their skin. If the contact points are hanging off their skin, we're not going to have good contact, which means that the conditioning could actually be off because we're not making good contact with their skin, because they won't feel the sensation of the collar. If the collar's on too tightly, we could cause some skin irritation from it being too tight. So getting the fitment just right is key. So what you're looking for is you want the contact points snug up against the skin. If you can move the collar and it's sliding around like this too much on the neck, that's too loose. If you just can't move it at all, it's too tight. You want it to move loosely with the skin that it's sitting on, okay? Another rule of thumb is once we have the collar actually clipped onto the dog, we want to be able to get one finger underneath the collar strap. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and put this on Proby here. It's already been fitted for him. Nope, good boy. All right, a little excited here. So what I do is I just put the collar on, I clip it, and I make sure that the collar is sitting on the side of his neck. All right, so the remote itself, the way we're going to use this, you've got a couple buttons on here. I'm going to show you the most important ones. First of all, this is a Dogtra Arc 2-dog system. So we can run 2 dogs off this same collar. So we're going to ignore the orange buttons because we only have Proby, it's 1 dog. The front buttons on the front, that's your vibration button. We're going to ignore that. Don't even use that button. We can't adjust the level to the vibration, so we're going to act like it's not there. The side gray button for Proby is the one we're going to use for conditioning. Then finally on the top, we have our stimulation control knob, so we can turn our remote collar level up. We can turn it down depending on what we need for Proby during this conditioning and application process. That's it. Now we're ready to get started. All right, so now that we've covered remote collar fitment, placement, we know how it goes on the dog, we know the remote. Let's just real quick review our prerequisites. Remember, we want our dog to know a couple things before we actually do the conditioning. We want the foundation for our obedience. So we want the dog to be able to come. So you should be looking at this, hold a piece of food in your hand, hold it to your dog's nose, back up, pull it up to your belly. They should be able to do that basic movement very easily. The next thing we want them to know is to sit. Again, food in your hand. If you can do this and your dog sits very easily, you know you're good there. Now we're gonna do a down. Again, we're just reviewing that the dog knows these things. We'll let him chew that real quick. So now we're gonna do a down, put food in our hand, toward the ground, boom. See how nice and easily he goes ahead and lays down? That tells us we're good there. Now we need to do a quick little leash walk. Notice he's kind of staying there for a second. That means the foundation for our stay is set. Heel. So now if we do this with our left side, we do want to be able to see him stay relatively consistent on our left side as we're walking with a nice loose leash, and I can just use this small area right here to work back and forth in. All right, so we verified that our prerequisites are set. We've got the collar on. We're about ready to start our conditioning. Real quick, I need to talk about the 3 verbal markers we're going to use to communicate. Yes means he's done the right thing. You can move to me to get a reward. You don't have to do anything else. Good means you're doing a good job. Keep doing that. I'll bring a reward to you. And then no is going to mean you're doing the wrong thing, and that's going to predict accountability right now, which is the leash, okay? First thing we're going to do, we have our remote. We're using the C continuous function. We're going to start off on level 1, okay? All we're going to do here, we're going to go 1 level at a time, free. And we're going to go 1 level at a time, and as we move through the levels, we're going to give a quick push and release on the continuous button. We call that a bump. We're going to bump. We're going to look for any indication from him that he feels a sensation. All he should be doing is basically looking to the side, looking down, looking around, some sort of registration of the new sensation, okay? So I'm just going to bump. We feel nothing. He feels nothing, so I'm going to go to level 2. Me, myself, I don't even feel this until it gets up to somewhere in 15, 16 range. Okay, I'm just going through the buttons here. Level 3, I'm going to bump. Nothing. Level 4, bump. As soon as I see something, I'll let you guys know. Level 5, bump. See something that is kind of a behavior showing that he feels something. Level 6, bump. Nothing. I'm just saying bump so you guys know when I'm pushing it. You don't need to say bump when you're doing this with your dog. Level 7, bump. Nothing from him. Level 8, bump. Right there. Level 8, I bump. He looks to the side, he comes back to normal behavior. That tells me that he registers that level, he feels something at that level, good. Okay, food drive is still there. All right, so we'll do 1 more level 8. I'm just gonna back up. I like to verify that it's actually a good level, so I just kind of move around real quick for a second. And then randomly, I'll go ahead and bump if he's not itching. If he is itching, I'll just kind of move like this, good. Bump. He's not doing anything, let me just make sure, bump. Okay, he might not feel it on level 8. And I'm saying bump, that's when I'm hitting the actual button, just so you guys know. Good, bump. Right there, he felt it. That was level 9. Notice how he looks, he starts sniffing the ground. So that tells me we definitely register at level 9. So we're gonna start off with level 9. However, if this level seems to be a little bit too much as we go through the conditioning process, I'll let you know when that happens, and then we'll turn it down, all right? So first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna pair through classical conditioning the sensation of the remote collar, the e-collar, to a come behavior, right? So all we do, free. We kind of hang out, do some petting, all right? Hang out. We got our food rewards ready right here. Randomly, when I tell you I'm gonna bump, we're gonna bump. Then as soon as we do that, after the bump is over, we're gonna say come. We're gonna do our motion for coming to us. So right here, bump, baby, come. Yes, just like that. We're gonna do repetitions of that, all right? So let's go ahead and do it. You guys are gonna be with me for this whole conditioning process. One thing I don't like is I don't like them showing me a lot of attention when I actually bump them. So I make sure they're looking away from me like this. Notice how he's not looking at me anymore. Bump, come, good. I back up, yes. And during this process, it's not critical that he actually sits whenever I lure up. I just want him moving into that motion, okay? Good boy, good boy. Free. Bump, come, good. So you notice as soon as I bump, he already is starting to move to me. That tells me our prerequisite training is very clear to him because he's feeling this new sensation, he's moving to me. That is ideally what we want, all right? And the reason why I like doing the come command first is because I'm immediately layering in that when you feel the sensation, your default is to move to me. Feel the sensation, your default is to move to me, and our prerequisites have helped us achieve this so far, okay? Bump, come, good. Now again, I'm saying bump, but when you're doing this, you don't need to say bump. I don't really like saying bump, but I need you guys to know when I'm actually hitting the button, okay? Bump, come, good. All right, yes. Bump, good. I didn't even say come that time, but he's already moving to me. So that tells me that he is getting solidified on that sensation means move to me. Sensation means move to me. I want to see that at least 3 times really well. We call that the rule of 3. When you can perform a behavior 3 times in a row really well, that generally will demonstrate you have an understanding of that. Now I can progress to the next step. Let's do it again. Bump, come, bump, Proby, come, good. Nope, bump, good, Proby, come, good. So he's a little bit confused there, so we're gonna do a couple more repetitions. A little bit distracted by the camera guy. So right here, bump, Proby, come, perfect. That was a perfect repetition. Yes, good. So right here, as soon as he starts moving, come, good. I didn't say bump, but I just bumped him for a second there. Bump, Proby, come, good. Bump, Proby, come, yes, good boy. See if we can get one more here. So I'll just kind of wait. I'm waiting for him to look away from me. Bump, Proby, come, yes, good. All right, so I'm feeling good about where he's at this stage in the conditioning process. Remember, after conditioning, we have application, which I'll talk about very soon. But the conditioning is just getting the initial understanding of the sensation completed so he knows what to do. So now we're gonna do some sits, all right? The way we do this, we're gonna bump. We're gonna say sit. If he's not sitting or having trouble sitting, we can give a little bit of a leash tug to help him sit, okay? Proby, free. And the reason why this works is because we've got that prerequisite done, right? Bump, Proby, sit. Little leash tug. Good, just like that. Okay, so you got to figure out how you're going to hold all this stuff in your hands as you're doing this. Proby, free. Good, a little reward right here for staying with me. Good. All right, bump, Proby, sit. Good. So I didn't do a leash tug because he was moving into the sit. Proby, free. Good. And again, you don't need a big area for this. I'm just moving throughout this area right here on this nature trail, taking my time with it. Bump, Proby, sit. Yep. Good. Proby, free. Good boy. A little back and forth action here. Bump, Proby, sit. Good. We're still on level 9. Bump, Proby, sit. If he defaults into a down, that's totally fine. I'm just gonna move back a little bit. Proby, good boy, yes. All right, so I've done several repetitions of the sit. I feel comfortable that he knows generally what to do. So now we're gonna move to the down. It's the same sequence, except this time we're just going down. So if I need to help him with the leash, generally what I do is I take my free hand and I just use it with the leash to help him go down, right? So I'm just gonna bump, bump, Proby, down. just like that. Notice how I'm just gently pushing down on the leash. That's because we've got our prerequisite training done. This is helping him understand what to do with this whole process. Probably free. Good boy. Good boy. Mix it in with some pets. Good boy. All right, right here. Bump, Proby down. Good. Once he finishes chewing that. Yes. Good. Throw a little terminal release marker in there. Change it up just a little bit. Again, moving around a little bit. Nothing too crazy here. Bump, Proby down. Good. Yes. Good boy. Good. Little miss in a chase there, no biggie. Good. Bump, Proby down. Good. Yes. So in this session, holding the remote in my hand, my right hand, with the leash in my right hand, allows my left hand to be open for rewards and leash handling. So it's useful right now, but I will hold it different ways depending on what dog I'm working with. So we've done several downs. He's responded very well, right? No issues with that. So the last one we're gonna do is a little bit of heeling, all right? So all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna walk back and forth, and if he ever goes outside of heel position, which for us is on our left side, head and shoulders right about with our left leg, if he goes outside of heel position, I'm just gonna say no, bump, little tug on the leash, okay? So for this one, I'll generally put the leash in my left hand here, right? I can back up a little bit. If he's moving to my heel position, he's good. Proby, heel, good. So now I'm gonna just walk this way. If he doesn't break heel position, it's fine. We just won't be able to do anything in particular here. A little bit of head, nope, bump, tug, good. I'm just saying tug so you guys know what I'm doing here. So right here, I'm gonna slow down. No, good. Slow down with me. No, good. I didn't get to say bump, but I said no, bump, then tug on the leash, okay? All right, so we've done the conditioning. We started with the come, we've done the sit, we've done the down, we did a little bit of healing. Now we're gonna do application. With your dog, you don't need to rush this. There's no rush to this. If you can get it all done in one session, one day, that's totally fine. If you need to break it up into multiple sessions, that's okay too. Just remember where you're at and pick it up on your next session. Now with that being said, remote collar application is transferring what we've just taught him in conditioning now to our everyday use, all right? So what you're gonna do anytime that your dog breaks command or needs communication, let's say I'm heeling and they heel ahead of me, my sequence would be, I say no, I bump on the e-collar, nope, and then I tug on the leash right here. Here's a good example. He gets out of a sit, no, bump, tug on the leash, okay? That's your sequence for every scenario. So if you're heeling, no bump, tug. If you tell him to down and he doesn't down, no bump, tug. If you ask him to sit, he doesn't sit, no bump, tug. You're gonna do that for several days until you see a great response from your dog to the e-collar, and you know that they know what that communication means and what to do when they feel that communication. Okay, so I'm gonna take you guys on a short walk. I like doing this on little walks if I can, where we're gonna cycle through some obedience positions. Nope. All right guys, so we're doing our application walk, so everything is no bump, tug, nope. Good, and your tug on the leash is kind of like an arrow. So I just say no, I bump right here, I tug on the leash, and notice when I tug the leash, I'm tugging it, nope, toward my left side, toward my left leg where he should be. Now notice, he's having a hard time. So now's my time to start turning up my level. No, bump. I'm just saying bump so you guys know when I'm pushing it. Nope, no bump. Good. So that we can find the appropriate level for where we're at. Nope, good. So I'm currently on level 11. Nope. Notice his response to it's a little bit better, but he's still walking ahead of me. So I'm gonna keep going up here. No bump. Good. Nope. Good. Nope. Good. Good. So he's doing a lot better here. So I'm gonna slow down and stop. I'm gonna have him sit. Nope. Good. Nope. Good. Proby sit. Good. If he didn't sit, I would say no, bump, tug on the leash, okay? Now I'm gonna turn my level down since we stopped walking. We're gonna go back to level 9. Probie down. Good, no bump tug needed, right? No bump tug was needed, right? So if he didn't lay down, I would say no bump tug on the leash, right? Let's back up a little bit. Probie, come. Good. Good. No issues. Probie heel. So no application was needed. So we're gonna start walking again. Nope. So anytime I'm walking, I am gonna be turning this up. Back to level 13. Nope. Good. And as soon as he kind of starts forging ahead, nope. That's when I'm gonna say no. Bump on the remote collar, tug on the leash. Anytime you hear me say no, nope, I'm bumping the button. So he's still fighting it on level 13. So this is where we find our effective level. I'm turning it up. Nope. Nope. Good. Nope. Good. Nope. Good. Good. Staying in good position here. Probie. Good. Probie. Good. Reward right here. If I slow myself down, nope, he starts going ahead. So I say no bump tug. I am up at level 20. I'm just slowly increasing my level. Nope. Good. Slow down and stop again. Nope. Good. Probie, sit. Good. Turning it down to level 9 since we're done walking for right now. Probie down. Good. Probie stay. All right, so sitting and downing, I haven't needed to do application yet. Nope, right here, nope. Good, I'm not letting him chew random things on the ground, not letting him dig in the ground. Now's the time to start using the remote collar for these things, okay? Nope, good. If he gets up, nope, no bump tug. Notice I slide down the leash to give a little tug downward. Good. So now's where we're really gonna start fine tuning all of our obedience. This sets us up for success when he has the off-leash freedom to run around, and we still need to ensure his safety, right? Which is why we're using a remote collar, okay? I hope you understand the conditioning and application process. Just remember, conditioning, you're going through that whole sequence after you've already done the prerequisite training. Then application is where you're solidifying the response to the remote collar in your everyday activities. You're gonna do that for several days until you know that your dog understands that communication very clearly. Then you can stop doing the no bump tug. You can just do no bump, and you can use the e-collar to clearly communicate to your dog. All right, here's what I want you to do right now. If you're watching this video and you find yourself wanting to do e-collar training, go down to the description. I've linked my top recommendations for e-collars down below. If you have an e-collar already, or you're getting one, make sure you've got your prerequisite training completed. That way you can go ahead and do your conditioning and application with the e-collar. Keep in mind, when you're doing your conditioning and application, get it done and the amount of sessions that are needed to complete that understanding of the tool. If you found this video helpful, make sure you give it a thumbs up so we can help educate other people, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you want to learn how to teach your dog that prerequisite training for your e-collar conditioning, make sure you go to this video right here. That way you can learn that, and I'll see you in the next video.